to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Welcome to the Lock Shop, everybody. Brought to you by our partners over at Coolbet. It is Nielson, it is Pat, and it is Jake. Three guys who picked touchdown winners, and the one guy who didn't isn't here today. I had to point that out. Now, he said, I'm at the Jets camp. We're doing media avails. I've got a bunch of interviews during Lock Shop. But I have a feeling if Kenneth Walker found his way to the end zone yesterday, boys, Huss would be here.
There is no way Huss would be. Not only that, guys, who's playing tonight? Which football team is playing tonight? It's the Chiefs. But something tells me he didn't really make too big of a fuss when I put the Saints plus 5.5 on my card. I think the walls are starting to cave in on old Hustlerama here, and he's getting scared. No, I'm just kidding. He's got some cool stuff going on with Winnipeg Sports Talk. It is hockey season tomorrow, so some obviously some big news, some big events going on in with Media Day. So he's having fun there. We're having fun here. But I mean, facts are facts, though.
Yeah,
he was bottom. What was it? Bottom of your power rankings.
He was the bottom of the power rankings. What can I say? The power rankings are just
fruition.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with that being said, a Kenneth Walker touchdown would have been really nice. That would have been really nice. But we do got lots to get to from the National Football League yesterday. In fact, I mean, we got to talk about the Seahawks because they killed us. So we'll get into that. And we'll set up the Monday Nighter. I know Huss did pass along a little parlay, so we'll get into that. We'll build a little parlay here with ourselves as well as we'll set up the Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs. I had Mike Tenier on our show this morning, and I was like, you know what happens here? The Chiefs win a close one. That's what happens. Saints cover, Chiefs win. I don't even know if we should read into it too much. I feel like that's probably what's going to happen. But let's start with this. Biggest story from around the National Football League yesterday. Jake, what do you think it was? Lots going on, some entertaining games yesterday. What stood out for you the most?
Yeah, the Bengals can't stop a nosebleed. I mean, that's probably up there for me. A team that probably should have won the football game. I was hoping at least they won, so I didn't have to come on here and listen to you give me shit about not only the Bengals not covering, but also the Cleveland Browns getting absolutely cranked. But that's probably the second biggest story is the Washington Commanders are just a flat-out good football team. No matter what number you place them at, they're covering now, like, easily, putting up a ton of points. Jaden Daniels looks incredible, so those are probably my two big storylines. Bengals are in trouble, and the Commanders are, I'd say, pretty legit.
Pat, what about you? Give me your one or two big stories, and we'll dive into them a little bit here.
The Vikings are the real deal. The Vikings are a championship contending team. They're undefeated. We'll see if they'll be the lone team or if the Chiefs continue to stay undefeated with them as well. This is the first game where it wasn't their offense that completely won them a game. Their defense, who Huss has been on the record. I've been on the record. Dusty, I think you've even been on the record that Brian Flores, what he's able to do with this defensive group has been impressive. Sammy Darts did not look great in England. The offense was sputtering at points, but it was the defense that came up, caused 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions against Aaron Rodgers, and that was a gritty victory. I think the Vikings are the real deal, and maybe it's not the biggest story in the NFL, but the biggest lock shop story, the Jags finally got it done.
The Jags
finally got it done. The investment came through. Now, will the investment continue to come through is a different story. But those throwback jerseys, Trevor Lawrence looked great. They did it against a divisional opponent. And I don't know if we're ready to put the who's back chain on them, but they showed some life at least for another week. There's still a lot of problems with this team, but they got it done and they did their job in the partner parlay.
I'm selling. I'm going to sell high on the investment collection right now. This is the week. If you would like 80 Trevor Lawrence rookie cards, please slide into my DMs. That would be terrific. Thank you very much. They're all of differing values, but we'll see what we can do. I'll cut you a deal. Now, with that being said, when I brought that up with Mike Tenier on the Nielsen show this morning, he goes, yeah, congratulations. They beat a Colts team without their number one quarterback, without their number one running back, without their number one corner. Like, the Colts were a little bit banged up, but Joe Flacco came to play, man. Joe Flacco just continues to deliver. I thought he was excellent in this football game. He really gave them a chance.
I would be very, very hesitant to call QB1 not Joe Flacco. 359 yards, 3 TDs, was 33 for 44. That offense without, yes, their number one running back, probably their most important player on that team, wasn't playing. So sure, but I think this offense looks way better with Flacco under center. I know you've put a big investment. So you probably want the youngster to play. You probably want him in. But if you're looking to win games right now, how do you not go with Flacco right now? How do you? I think if I'm a Colts fan, I'm kind of rooting that he's going to continue to lead this team. I don't know, Jake. I know you're all in on the Colts. You had some futures. You're following this team closely. I know you're a Flacco believer, but you gotta go. You gotta ride with the hot hand. No.
Yeah, Richardson hasn't showed you a whole lot that makes you think this guy is a franchise cornerstone. And Flacco, I mean, you can't knock what he's been doing the last couple of years here. Like, he's aging like a fine wine. He's been really, really impressive. I thought I had an inside track when I heard Richardson was out. I jumped on Pittman. I ended up being Alec Pierce yesterday, who had some huge gainers. And I mean, he's spreading the wealth. Like you said, no Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, they weren't able to win the football game, but he had the minute the whole way through. I have 3 teams right now I'm thinking about overs for. The Commanders are an over team. Their pass defense has not been great. They can score the ball. The Cincinnati Bengals, like I said, can't stop a nosebleed. They can score the ball. And the Indianapolis Colts are another team. With Joe Flacco at the helm, I'm expecting points in those games. So 3 teams that I'm kind of circling as over teams as we kind of hit the quarter mark of the season here.
You mentioned one of those over teams. It was one of your big stories earlier on. The Commanders, 4-1 to start the year. Jaden Daniels is a little fantasy sweetheart because he didn't even necessarily play well yesterday. Still came away with 20 fantasy points because he had 82 yards rushing. That being said, it's really driving me crazy when they're getting to the 5 and they're just running in touchdowns with running backs. I'm like, come on, man, take one in yourself, be selfish. They get the Ravens this week, and I know we'll get to our picks as we work our way through, but you mentioned, Jake, Commanders are an over team. The total in that game's 52.5. I think last week, I think our top total was 49.5. So this is 3 points higher than any total that we saw last week. The Commanders are 6.5 point road underdogs. Pat, we said on our show this morning, or I think it was somebody in the Nasty chat this morning, basically said, if the Commanders show well against the Ravens, not even beat the Ravens, but show well against the Ravens, then you got to really take them seriously here that they're going to be in the postseason this year.
Yeah, they showed yesterday, though, too, the fact that, you mentioned it, Daniels didn't light the world on fire, but the fact that he had an average game, they still were able to come out in convincing fashion. Mind you, it could be against the worst team in football right now in the Cleveland Browns, but it doesn't matter. I totally agree, though. I mean, the Ravens, that offense yesterday, I would have a hard time betting against them, but it's a lot of points. It's been the trend this year, and I do believe in the Commanders. I'm looking at the division winner right now, plus 210 for them to win this division. They're 4-1. The Eagles have given me no reason to believe that they can run away with this division by any stretch of the imagination. The Dallas Cowboys yesterday, I cannot believe I stayed up so late to watch that atrocity of a football game. And obviously the Giants are the Giants. Big win yesterday. They're not winning that division. At plus 210, obviously you're kicking yourself in the ass for not betting it at the start of the year. But if the Commanders show a pulse and don't get their doors blown off against the Ravens this week, I don't know if we'll ever see a number as short as 210 for the rest of the year. I really don't.
Probably won't. I don't think you will. I mean, you're right about getting on it earlier in the season. That would have been good. The other one that I'm futures that I'm kind of regretting not getting on, and we did talk about it right before the beginning of the season. But Lamar Jackson's looking like he might run it back at MVP again. Hey, Jake, I'm very interested to see when the reset numbers come out this week where he is, because at this point, I mean, he's got to be top 3. Has to be top 3, I would think, right now.
Yeah,
should probably be the favorite, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and early on we weren't sure, right? I mean, obviously they probably could have started the season 2-0 as easily as they started 0-2, but they found ways to win football game. They beat the Cowboys this week. They take care of a divisional rival in the Bengals in a game that, was crazy right to the end. I think there was 70-plus points in that game when it was all said and done. So, yeah, I mean, Lamar's kind of doing it all with his feet, doing it in the air. Super, super impressive. I mean, the fact that there's still people out there denying the type of player Lamar Jackson is baffling to me. I know the playoff success hasn't been there, but surely soon enough we're going to see the Ravens go on a run here and make a Super Bowl. I know Patrick Mahomes has found a way to break a lot of hearts in terms of that category, but the Ravens are going to find a way here soon enough.
Well, what if Patrick Mahomes comes out tonight, doesn't look great? I'm not saying they lose to the Saints, but again, if it's another close victory and it's another pedestrian by Mahomes standards, I still, just because of the way that we've seen this market trend, I still think Mahomes is probably going to be the betting favorite unless they lose and he looks awful.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, I think.
Statistically, it's not even close. Lamar's been.
It's not close.
So much better than Mahomes so far this year.
You can say Sam Darnold has been. Better
fair enough.
Mahomes
You're right,
and they have the same record. It's the Mahomes effect, and I just think the sports books cannot expose themselves to a high Mahomes number because people will bet it. They'll bet it down, and if he goes on a tear, I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated, but let's say they lose 2 games. How does he not win MVP is probably what they're thinking. That's more or less, I think, the sports book playing a little bit of prevent defense. But it's going to come to a point where if his numbers continue to plateau like this and we see Lamar look well, if we see, I think Josh Allen, you could have argued that he was in the top 2 for last 2 weeks, though. Man, he's not looked great. A lot of that is because of the targets that he has to throw to, but you got to take that into play as well. So you bring up a great point. We rarely see the run it back. We've seen it a couple of times, but if he's the best player on one of the best teams in the NFL and plays the premier position that this award is kind of given it to, how the hell does he not be in that conversation?
Yeah, very interested to see what the number is on him when those get reposted. A couple of messages over in the Nasty Chat. Of course, if you're listening to The Lock Shop today on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com and you want to chime in, you can do so. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Let's see here. Bronco Nick says, guys, I missed a good payday by 6 yards from Brock Purdy. He needed 244, or he finished with 244, needed 250. This is the worst one, though. Big Uke. My bad beat yesterday was a 3-leg prop parlay with Nico Collins over 78.5 yards. He left mid-second quarter with 78. And, of course, the other 2 cashed. That is an all-time right there. You needed Nico over 78.5. Leaves in the second quarter at 78. I can't. I'm sick to my stomach, Uke. I'm sick to my stomach hearing something like that. That is a tough one. That's a tough one for sure. What about the Buffalo Bills, Pat? How about that clock management there late in that football game? Where'd you come out on the way they decided to play that? I mean, they were obviously trying to move the ball up and get into field goal range, but, I mean, after it doesn't work on the first down, you kind of just got to run that one out and get to OT, don't you?
Yeah, McDermott, man, this is not just the first time he has shown that he is one of the worst, most inept game managers when it comes to head coaches in the NFL. He runs a fine defense. What he was able to do with that defense yesterday with all the injuries, the adjustments in the second half, the culture building, the way he develops talent, it's all there. The proof is in the pudding. It's one of the best defensive minds, I think, in the NFL. But when it comes to game management, man, this guy just continues to piss down his leg with boneheaded decisions after, it's either he's way too conservative or like what we see here, he's way over aggressive. And I could understand if Josh Allen was ripping around the rock all day long and guys were coming down. I could get that. We're going to win this game. But with the way the passing attack looked yesterday, no one could get open. Guys were dropping balls left, right, and center. Josh Allen's accuracy did look off. They're getting pressure to Allen. What planet did you think they were going to be able to connect there? and charge up the field, or at least even get a first down and allow this game to finish. Give the ball to James Cook once, see what happens there. Maybe then because they're going to take a timeout. I understand they have 3 timeouts, but allow them to burn some of those timeouts. Just a complete, just utter bonehead mistake. And you can't completely put it on the coaching staff because, again, like the offense looked so bad yesterday. But ultimately, the team got them back into a position. The defense, I mean, looked unbelievable in that second half. Really gave C.J. Stroud all sorts of fits. But at the end of the day, the team puts you there and the coaching staff lets them down. And this is multiple times we've seen this where McDermott has completely pissed away chances to either tie a game, go to overtime, or win a game. It's getting exhausting from the Bills Mafia perspective. That's for damn sure.
Big Maple over on the Nasty Chat says, my buddy sent me 5 missed slips, all involving Frydermuth, 25 plus yards. He finished with 24. Imagine having one guy, 1 yard, kill 5 tickets for you. That sucks big time. That sucks big time as well. I'm pretty sure Huss, if he was here, the Seahawks would be going on the shit list. What happened to Seattle, man? I don't want to take too much away from the Giants, but I don't know. Jake, did you catch any of the Seahawks game? Did anybody see any of that? That looked like a mess.
Yeah, I caught a bit of it, and I mean, it started off pretty crazy. The Giants were about to go up 7-0, and they fumble literally as close to the goal line as you can get. The ball gets taken all the way back for a 100-plus yard fumble recovery touchdown, and the Seahawks are off and running. So, with that kind of luck, you'd think the Seahawks would kind of cruise from there, but it was a rough go for Seattle, and the Giants found a way to get it done. I think what it is, Dusty, it's the curse of the big favorite. You do not want to be a big favorite in the NFL right now. 19-4-1 against the spread are underdogs of 5.5 plus or more now. Like, it is a. Do you have
the outright? Do you have the outright winners? Because the Cardinals were 7.5, and they won outright yesterday too.
13 outright wins of the 19 that have covered. So
that's insane.
It's absurd. If you're going to bet on a big underdog, you got to sprinkle the money line at this point, because whatever's going on with these big underdogs, they're finding ways not only to cover, but they're winning football games. And we saw, like you said yesterday, in the Cardinals and the Seahawks, who not only both covered, but they both won. We're circling the Saints tonight, boys, plus 5.5 right now.
Yes, we are. I already put them down on my card. It was one of my best bets. I don't know if I'm ballsy enough to go money line, just because we're dealing with Patrick Mahomes against Derek Carr. Like, to me, but this feels like the Chiefs are
due for a loss. They keep squeaking these things out. I mean, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if the Saints win tonight. I'm not picking them. But I'm not going to be surprised if they win.
No, I won't either. But like, this seems like, and it's very appropriate. YouTube Trev put the photo of Mr. Kelsey down here.
That's actually a photo of Jake with his hat off. That's what that is.
I would never let my hair look like that, Dusty. That is awful.
Yeah, that's true.
It is
that's
bad
true.
hair.
Yeah, Lloyd Christmas looking at. Yeah. For me, like, I don't know. You look at Kelsey. There's been the chatter of, is he washed? Does he even want to play football anymore? T Swift's apparently going to be in the building. We're going to see. It's just going to. For me, this might be a Kelsey game. No Rashee Rice. The question marks offensively. Like, I don't know if it's a vintage Kelsey game where we see him like plus 150 yards and a couple of touchdowns, but there's going to be 1 or 2 big moments. I think Kelsey's going to come down with a big grab. Probably will find the back of the end zone, but would it surprise me if the Chiefs lost, or if they lost and the Saints come up? Obviously not. I've got Saints plus 5.5, but me personally, I cannot in my heart of hearts waste my hard-earned money going Carr over Mahomes in a victory. I can't do it. This is going to be a close victory. I think it's going to be Chiefs coming down to the end here. They win on a last-second field goal or whatever it may be. Saints cover, and we're coming tomorrow. We're talking about the Chiefs did it again. The Chiefs did it again. Man, Saints were so close.
I hope it's a Kelsey game as well. I locked in this last night. It's plus 163 as a bet builder. Patrick Mahomes passing touchdown. Very simple one. Patrick Mahomes passing touchdown. Travis Kelce 45+ receiving yards. Travis Kelce 5+ receptions. Chiefs win. That's it. Plus 163 is what I got that on last night. I was messing around and threw out a little bet builder last night on that one. I
like that.
Yeah, Mahomes 1 passing touchdown. Kelce 45, 5 catches. Chiefs plus 163. I like that one. I played it very, very safe with that one, but I do like that one. Lots to get to on the National Football League. We'll come back around to this game and obviously build a parlay ourselves for the Monday nighter here. We'll get to the wheel that we spun this morning as well. The wheel is risky boy today. We'll get to that. Matt at the Garrison says, guys, can we talk about how Alabama was upset this weekend too? And it's not just Alabama. Wasn't this? And I was doing the CFL game on Saturday, so I was only briefly following from afar on social media. But was this not a situation where like 4 of the top 11 teams were upset for the first time in like history? Was that not what happened on Saturday?
It was insane. It was absolutely nuts. I don't know, Jake. I know you had the teams that lost, but it was multiple teams in the top 10, multiple teams in the top 25. It was the first time I think 2 SEC schools that were ranked in the top 10 lost to an unranked opponent. And Jake and I talked about this. Well, first off, shout out Jake. He led me to betting Vanderbilt by the spread. Didn't take Vandy to win the game outright. But so that was a nice cash on Saturday night. But Jake and I talked about this heading into this week. This week upcoming is one of the best college football slates you will see. Like ranked against ranked opponents, although a couple of those opponents might not be ranked as high, just due to the fact that some of them are the ones that lost. But we've got Ohio State number 2 taking on Oregon number 3. Like this is going to be an unbelievable slate. You look at last week, the one that just passed. The game's not sexy on paper, but this happens all the time in college football. When you mark one of those things, okay, this is the apple picking weekend. This is the weekend that, okay, you get away with the misses. You do some of the things maybe that you don't want to do. But whenever you do that, expect chaos. Yeah. Expect these crazy upsets, because every year, every time this happens in college football, when you think it's going to be a boring week that you can take your eyes off for a full Saturday, boom, absolute madness happens. And this is why we love college football. This is what makes it so much fun, because it looks like it's the perennial powers, but on any given Saturday, man, you just see some of this craziness. It's absolutely awesome. And I know Jake was watching a lot of it. I was watching a lot of it. I do not regret not planting my ass to the couch, because with that, with the MLB, WWE, Bad Blood, UFC, like it was a loaded Saturday slate. I put an absolute work into my couch.
Yeah, it looked like a snoozy weekend when Pat and I sat there looking at the slate. But here's your breakdown: Bama, number 1 team in the country, lost. Tennessee lost to my Razorbacks, number 4 team in the country. Mizzou, number 9 team in the country, lost to A&M. Michigan, number 10 team in the country, lost. USC, number 11 team in the country, lost. Louisville, number 22 team in the country, lost. Like, obviously, some huge upsets inside the top 10, even the number 11 there with USC. It was really a fun weekend. I wasn't there watching the night slate, but I was following along, especially with the Hogs, because Arkansas has been had a couple teams on the ropes. They had Texas A&M on the ropes. They had Oklahoma State on the ropes. And to go out there and beat number 4 Tennessee was huge for the Razorbacks. And then Vandy, I mean, you saw them. They ripped down the goalpost. They were walking it down Broadway and threw it in the river. So I saw right before we hopped in the program here, there was going to be some fines.
Yeah, there's going to be some fines coming.
Storming.
Yeah.
Could you?
So I think you pay that with no problem.
Oh yeah, 2 things. One, let's stick on that topic there. Could you imagine like you are a girl on your bachelorette trip down in Nashville, and you've had a few drinks with the ladies, and you stumble on Broadway, and you just see this massive sea of students carrying like field goal posts down Broadway, down to the river. Unbelievable. Like that would have been an all time night to be out in Nashville. You can have fun on Nashville on Lower Broadway on a Tuesday. Never mind a Saturday when the team just knocked off Alabama for the first time in who knows how long it's been, but unbelievable. Again, this is exactly why it is so much fun. We almost had another team go down as well. Miami was losing to another unranked opponent, Cal. It was in Cal, so it was a late game as well. And we almost had Miami. Like, they were getting smoked. Miami ends up coming back. Unbelievable comeback. Now they're in the top 4. I've got a Heisman future on Cam Ward as well, so I'm really feeling good about that. I've got Heisman futures are actually sitting really nice.
How many do you have?
I've got 3. I've got 3, and all 3 are in the top 3, I guess you could say right now. Do we have updated odds up yet, Jake? I don't think so.
It doesn't look like it just yet, but I'm sure it'll be up sometime today.
I got Travis Hunter because I will take this to my grave. Like, when you talk about Heisman, it should be the best college football player in the nation. How do you argue that he's not the best player? I got him at, like, I think it was after week 2, maybe down to like 40-1. He's got to be triple digits right now. Jalen Milroe for Alabama, I got him preseason. Again, took a bit of a loss, I think, this weekend with the loss, but he's probably going to find himself in New York. And then Cam Ward, who's been the pretty heavy favorite for the last couple of weeks. So I'm just in my head, and I've said this to Jake a few times, I've got the 3 top favorites with about halfway through the season. How does this thing lose? Because it's going to lose. One of those 3 will somehow find a way not to win, and it's going to be like Dylan Gabriel from Oregon or something. I know with my luck with futures, I've got 3 of them, and someone else will somehow win.
You know what I want to get to? I want to go back to Jake. Did I hear you quickly say you're Razorbacks? You're an Arkansas fan. How did this happen? How did you become an Arkansas fan?
Yeah, my mom's an Arkansas alum, and my grandfather as well. So I have family down there.
You're a legacy guy.
So yeah, I didn't grow up with a college team, obviously, but that one makes the most sense to me, and that's what I root for. Go Hogs.
That does make sense. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999 is where you can get in. Waddy in Cloverdale says, guys, I had a 4-player TD parlay at plus 2,200 alive to Lamb in the night game. Hit on Kittle, Jacobs, and Smith and Jigba. Just needed CeeDee Lamb. Didn't happen last night for him. Like I said, I love the house callers. I can't wait for this week to pick more touchdown guys. We usually do really well. Like, we're only usually either missing one or we've hit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that coming down the pipe here again as well. Back to the National Football League. We've hit on most of the games. Where do we come out on if the playoffs started today? The Denver Broncos would be in them at 3-2. The Broncos defense, obviously, they've got some really good individual talent on that side of the ball. This was against the Raiders, so we're not going to get too carried away here. But Bo Nix looked relatively decent in this football game for a rookie quarterback on a team that you don't really expect much from offensively. I'm going to who else have they beat? Who else have the Broncos beat this year? I don't want to get too into it.
I think the Buccaneers is the one, I think, where you can circle and say that's like a legitimate win. Although, like, the Bucs, again, it's I think a lot of it has to do with that defense that the Broncos have. But they beat the Raiders yesterday. They beat the Jets, who not only did the Jets look awful, like I think this game coming up against the Bills might be a real indication of, okay, who are the Jets actually? We'll get a real clear picture of that. They lose 13-6 against the Steelers, and then almost beat the Seahawks. Again, who are the Seahawks? I don't know if we really know who the Seahawks team really is. They got the Chargers this week. Like, looking at their schedule, man, they might not be legit, but their schedule.
Chargers, Saints, Panthers is the next 3, man. Are all there for the taking if they want them.
Yeah, they could rip off 3 wins. I know I'm pretty high on the Saints, obviously, if I think they can.
That would be the toughest of the 3.
But that's the toughest of the 3. Even if you go 2-3, which is very realistic, but then it gets a lot tougher going against Ravens, Chiefs, Falcons, and then lightens up again with the Raiders, the Browns, the Colts, the Chargers again, the Bengals, and then closing out the Chiefs. Depending on where the Chiefs are, they might sit out all their guys at the end of the year anyways. The Broncos could be they might be a playoff team. I don't know if truly they are, but as long as Nix isn't turning the ball over and that defense plays like we know they can, they're going to win games close, and they're probably going to lose games close as well.
Cardinals beat the Niners. We've not talked about this one yet because the Niners go to 2-3. Jake, if you're a Niners fan, are you at all concerned about this 2-3 start to their first 5?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're slightly concerned. You thought you were a good team prior to Christian McCaffrey getting to San Francisco.
They
made
were.
Your
You're right. Yeah,
that much more dynamic. But with the Kyle Shanahan offense, you think it's kind of a plug and play system. I know Jordan Mason isn't Christian McCaffrey, but they've struggled to keep everyone involved. Yesterday was a big Brandon Ayuk game. We probably should have seen that coming. He was due for a big game, and he didn't get that preseason. So those first kind of 4 weeks were kind of his preseason. But Deebo Samuel really wasn't involved. I think Kittle was second most in receptions. Mason was kind of whatever, really, like when you look at it. And it's just like, I think that was the first time I heard today. I was watching Sportsnet. It was the first time that Shanahan took a 10-point lead into the fourth quarter and lost a football game. I believe prior to that, he was like 36-0 or 38-0. So just an odd start. But I think it's one of those situations similar to Baltimore where you've had a couple of these losses where you're like, we probably should have won that football game. You just got to limit the errors, find a way to win at this point, right? San Francisco is going to get theirs. It's been a weird start for them.
I think they're a team, Jake, that as long as they get in and then when McCaffrey's healthy, they're going to be fine. But I think it's just like you mentioned, like Mason's been fine, but like he's got a 602 rushing yards from, he's got 3 touchdowns in 5 games. That's second in the league in rushing. Like, yeah, I just think it's the red zone efficiency that is the big issue. And I think when you have McCaffrey, that solves a lot of problems. Like, I think it comes down to it that like the 49ers, man, like you got Kyle Shanahan. Like he is supposed to be this offensive whiz mastermind. Is the mad scientist. Like maybe it's about time you start scheming some things up for some other guys, and you don't want to reinvent the wheel because Christian McCaffrey is eventually going to come back. But
their usage of Debo, their usage of Debo yesterday killed me. Like in fantasy, like it was like he wasn't even playing. Like he got nothing yesterday.
Well, whatever happened to the day of using Debo in that nice utility running back slot? Like, remember when Debo was just rushing the ball like a running back? He'd have 7-8 carries.
So many touches, man. Yeah.
Like, I don't know how, if you're not going to get him the ball in the air, like, find a way to get him the ball on the ground. You guys can still own the line of scrimmage. Like, where's all the creativity gone with that?
It's so true. What? One reception for 11 yards. Like that's
how many times was he targeted? Let's see. Did they target him a few times and he just blew it? Let's see here.
While you're looking at that, Dusty, this schedule does not get easy for the 49ers now that we're talking about them. They got to go to the Seahawks. They got the Chiefs at home, the Cowboys at home. Then they got to go to the Buccaneers, Seahawks at home, Packers in Green Bay, Bills in Buffalo, and then they'll get the Bears, Rams, Dolphins, and the Lions, Cards to close out the season. Like, they're going to have to beat some solid teams to get back in this mix because, they've already lost 2 divisional games in both the Rams and the Cards. They lost to the Vikings, who we know are a good team now. I think we can all say that in terms of being 5-0. But they only beat the Jets and the Patriots. They haven't really beat a team that we're super impressed with just yet. So I think a win in Seattle would be a good start to what they need to kind of get the season going here under 500.
Just quickly on the targets, Brandon Ayuk was targeted 12 times, had 147 yards and 8 catches. George Kittle was targeted 12 times. You guys brought that up earlier. He caught 8 of them for 64 yards and a touchdown. Jawan Jennings was targeted 4 times this week, caught 1 of them for 13 yards. Debo was targeted 3 times, had 1 catch for 11 yards, and then had 3 carries for a total of 9 yards. He's just an absolute non-factor in that offense this week. So I don't know. I mean, frustrating if you're a fantasy owner, but also for a team that's lost 3 games, it doesn't really add up either, right? It's like, well, maybe you got to use some of these other guys. So we'll see what happens there. But I thought the Niners very, like, you guys made a good point. Like, if they're there, they're going to be a team that you're going to have to worry about. So I'm not making it a big deal because they're just 2-3, but still strange, especially because they got shut out in the second half of that game.
Yeah,
right. Allowed the Cardinals to come back.
Well, we've seen the 49ers in years past with other guys out, and it's been that next man. Like they basically, you guys mentioned it, like their running game before McCaffrey, it was a cast of who's who. Didn't matter who was wearing the red and golds. Roll him out there, and he's going to run, and they're just going to scheme teams to death. Where did that go? Like, where has that gone? Like, when was the last time a Kyle Shanahan led offense was shut out in the second half? Like, that's unheard of. That's absolutely unheard of. So, it's not panic button smashing season just yet in the 49ers, but like, if they don't start collecting wins here soon, like once they're healthy, once they're coming back, sure, they can get there, but they're going to be a lower seed. They're going to have to grind it into the playoffs. I know once you're in, but they're not making it easier on themselves, to say the least.
The one more thing from that game, I made a note of it here while you guys are talking. Kyler Murray's 50-yard touchdown run. When he takes off like that, does he not look like a kid who's playing with the older kids?
Yes, he does.
He looks like a 9-year-old playing with 13-year-olds because he's just so damn little. When he got that edge and found some space, and he hadn't even got past the last guy yet, and he was kind of like, oh, here we go, it's going to be a touchdown. And he's just so damn tiny, man. What do they say he is? Because, like, there's no, what is he listed at? Like 5'9"? How tall is this dude?
The way his legs move is unbelievable. Like, he looks like a cartoon character.
Yeah,
sometimes.
he looks like Mighty Mouse. He looks like Speedy Gonzalez
his legs are moving
back in the day.
Yeah, like twice as fast as like the rest of everybody else. And it's like, how is this even possible? But when he gets out of the pocket, man, he's a problem. Like, I think that's the kind of guy you circle. And I know this guy got into the game, and we don't know what his future looks like, but when they drafted Bryce Young, I think you circle a guy like Kyler Murray and go, like, how can we make Bryce Young into this player? Kind of rolling out. Neither one of those guys can really be a pocket passer in the height in which they are. Like, it's hard to see over a line of huge monster offensive linemen when you're as short as they are. So that's why when Kyler gets out, it's like it's trouble. Even you saw yesterday, the threat of him running opens up stuff downfield. There was even one in the red zone there. I think he's on like the 2 or 3 yard line, and he kind of took a step to run. The defense bit, and he had a guy wide open in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. So, yeah, it's fun to watch. I mean, I don't know if the Cardinals are going to end up being a playoff team, but at least they're fun to watch. Like, if I'm a Cardinals fan, I'm at least enjoying my time watching Cardinals football.
He looks like he's he's listed at 5'10", same as Bryce Young. And Bryce Young doesn't look big in the pocket, but Kyler Murray looks littler. Like, he looks like he's 5'8". Like, he's just phenomenal. He's able to do what he can do at that size. Like, it's pretty damn impressive. All right, Chris, this is interesting. So Chris made a bet builder parlay, took every game that had an under 40 game total and the primetime games, and picked each team to make one field goal. It's at plus 360, and he just needs field goals for both teams tonight to hit it. He hit every single other game. He took every game with a total under 40, and then the primetime games, and picked each team to make at least one field goal. Got plus 360 on it. Needs field goals from the Chiefs and Saints tonight to cash this thing.
So how many games would that have been? Like,
I'm trying to think.
So the 3 primetime, and I think there was at least
two. There was
5 or 6 games.
Yeah, there was at least 2. I know for sure.
Patriots, and the Raiders game.
Yeah. The Patriots game, and then the Denver Raiders game. They were under 40, but they were like in the 36, 37 range. There might have been some games at 39 last week. I don't know if Chris is still listening.
Depending on where you got the Vikings line, I think the Vikings are around 40, 41 and a half. So I don't know. Maybe it didn't go
I just texted him.
Maybe it's a 3 primetime.
Yeah.
And those 2 games. And both teams to make a field goal. That's what the bet is on those low scores.
Both teams had to make a field goal. That was it. And he was doing he was doing it in Bet Builder, right? Where you just had select the one field goal and then put it together as a little parlay. And I texted him. I texted him back, said how many games. So we'll see if he gets back to us as we continue on here with the lock shop.
That's one thing. I think that's one thing. We kind of like to do this too on the show. It's not just about giving our picks, but also like tips and stuff for Coolbet. That's one thing you can do now with the Bet Builder as well. Like you can combine.
That's big news. That's big news
as well, right?
Yeah.
So
when did that start, boys? When did you open that up? When did that?
I want to say it was just right in time for the NFL, for the NFL season. So, if there's so if there's a couple of different games, especially on a Sunday, and you like a couple of Bet Builders and, you're looking for a little extra juice, that's something that you can do. So you can build those Bet Builder tickets and stack them up. Clearly, it's almost working here with a couple of field goals. Me, obviously, I'm betting the over 3.5. This is a linchpin game for the primetime field goals because right now, doing my numbers here, it's 9-8. It's sitting at 9-8 so far. You're still up because of the plus money. So you're even if we get to 9-9, you're still up for plus money. But to keep it above 500, we need those field goals tonight, and I think that's also going to help our friend cash his Bet Builder ticket as well.
Here's what he did. So he wasn't on the Thursday nighter. He was on Panthers, Bears, Dolphins, Pats, Raiders, Broncos, and then Sunday nighter last night. And now Monday night tonight. So it was 5 games. So he needs 10 teams. He needs 10 teams to kick a field goal. And he's got 8 of them. He needs 2 more to get it done tonight for plus 360. Chris, I love the creativity. Thank you for bringing that to the forefront here on the Lock Shop today. All right. Before we get to our picks, our parlay here, and our picks for the game tonight, the wheel today, we spun the wheel today, and boys, it ended up on Foster Moreau, which is just... We were like, where is Foster Moreau? It was so close to Alvin Kamara. Like they were side by side. And here it is. It stopped like right, where is it here? So that red one's Foster Moreau. I swear to God, it went like this and then settled down on Foster Moreau. So plus 450. If the wheel hits tonight, nobody can ever doubt the wheel ever again in the history of a wheel anywhere in the world. I mean, that'd be pretty impressive. What are we looking at tonight? What do you guys like tonight for this one? First of all, are you playing the side at all at 5.5? It's already on your best bet, right, Pat?
Yeah, it's already on my best bet. I gave out a bunch of different stats and reasoning, so I won't rehash it too much, but I want to remind the folks maybe that weren't listening on Friday that Patrick Mahomes is 33-40 against the spread in his career when favored by 3 points or more. And since 2020, as a favorite of more than a field goal, he's 21-31. That is a 40.4% coverage rate. Not good. He wins a lot of games. He could go down as the greatest quarterback, the greatest football player of our time, of maybe all time. But when it comes to big spreads, this team does not care about the spreads. They don't care about covering. They just want to win. And at 5.5, I have to roll with it.
As you were saying that, I just bet $5 on a Foster Moreau touchdown. I got to be on it. So I got to be on it a bit.
I'm going to do it too.
It pays $27.50, so it's not bad. Plus 450. Had to get on that. I'm with you, Pat. I'm on the Saints plus the 5 points tonight. They weren't one of my best bets from the week, but as we look at this game tonight, I do like the Saints to cover. Jake, where are you at? You staying away from the total or staying away from the side or?
No, I'm with you guys. I'm going to ride with the Saints as well, just because, I mean, like I said, I mentioned the trend already. These bigger underdogs are finding ways to cover. They're also finding ways to win. So I might be sprinkling a little Saints money line. I don't think the Chiefs are going for an undefeated season. They lost Rashee Rice last week. They've lost Pacheco.
Yeah, that's the thing. We need to realize that they're missing their number one receiver, their number one running back. They've been kind of not wanting, I think, to go to their number one tight end, but they're kind of forced to now. And they're already missing Hollywood Brown at the beginning of the year. Like they're running low on options right now. Mahomes might find a way, but still.
And the great ones
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the great ones always find a way. And I'm not doubting Patrick Mahomes by any means, trust me. But I think it's just one of those things you look at and go, what have the Chiefs done to deserve to be 5.5-point favorites against a Saints team who, started off real hot, kind of cooled off a bit, but is still very much a competitive team in this league.
Yes, it is. And I think we got to go back to the Rashee Rice. Like I talked about it on Friday, but I saw this, that, Mahomes, 25.4% of his targets have gone towards Rashee Rice. Mahomes to Rice is at a 82.8 completion rate with a 9.9 yards YPA with a 6.9 touchdown rating. To everyone else on the team, it's 64.1 completed percentage with a 6.7 YPA and a 4.3 TD.
Wow.
The production drops off significantly when it comes to completion percentage with the other receivers.
Well, as we build this bet builder tonight, let it be known that both of these run defenses are top 10 in the National Football League. So, and then, and Kansas City doesn't necessarily have Kareem Hunt, who knows? We'll see what happens tonight. But, I'm interested to see where this, does this become an air show between Carr and Mahomes? And if it does, who's the star of the show? Is Xavier Worthy? I feel like I can't get away from big Travis Kelce night. I just can't do it.
Yeah. I would totally be fine putting his receptions over. I can't recall what his total yardage or even a touchdown I'd be fine with.
Kelce touchdown for sure, yeah.
So maybe that on the flip side, on the other thing, you mentioned that, both these rush defenses are great. And I have a hard time fading Kamara just with what we've seen from him, especially this year. But they're going to have to get him involved somehow. I'm looking at the over 34.5 reception yards. Mentioned how good the Chiefs are. Like they've only given up, they're averaging 57 yards per game on the ground. 3.12 yards per carry. So Kamara, we know even with that not even being a factor, Kamara is going to be involved in the passing game. He always is. He always has. Doesn't matter who his quarterback is. He's 174 reception yards this season, and he's averaging, this is nuts, 10.2 yards per catch. He sailed over this number in 3 straight games. The only time he didn't was in the opener, and that's because it was in a blowout win. They didn't need to throw him the ball anymore. So over 34.5, I absolutely love it. That's my
to me, it's 33.5 right now. I'm looking at Kamara. It's at 33.5. Minus 110. Okay,
so that must have gone down, or maybe I just wrote it in. I'll take it. I'll take it in a heartbeat.
All right. So I love that.
Maybe Patty, what are you gonna? I assume you're gonna do a Patty's prime time. So maybe let's not steal all your picks. I'll make a case. I think Rashid Shaheed 46.5 receiving yards isn't a bad number either. We talked about the run defense for both sides of the ball here. Shaheed has had 3 big games. He had one game where he didn't have a reception, although he did have 5 targets. But 83 yards against the Falcons last week. He had 96 yards against Dallas and 73 yards against Carolina in week 1. A guy that is a big downfield threat. I think Olave will be that safety blanket for Carr, but I think when they need a big play, it's going to be Shaheed. I think he could get it all done in one pass. I mean, I look at his longs this year. He had a long of 59 in week 1, a long of 72, and against Atlanta, his long was 25. But I mean, that's two receptions to get to that 46.5.
Okay, so 46.5 for Rashid Shaheed. Do we want to put both him and Kamara on this thing? Or, Jake, were you suggesting we leave Kamara off for one of Pat's other?
Well, if Pat's going to add Kamara to his prime time, I was thinking we stick with Kelce, either Kelce touchdown. I know Huss has receptions already in his
I think Kelce TD. Parlay. I think Kelce TD. I've got Kelce yards. And I think, what do I have? What did I say earlier? Touchdown and receptions? Maybe? Or was it yards and receptions? I think it was yards and receptions. So I'm totally fine getting on with Kelce TD here. So if we go Kelce TD, Rashid Shaheed, and then what else are we going to... You know what else I think maybe...
Do we want to take the Saints? And Huss isn't here.
Take the Saints plus 5.5?
Plus 5.5?
It might be the only time we could ever do that. And it would be hilarious for tomorrow if we're like, hey, cash this while you weren't here, Saints plus 5. I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind that. We could do that. Let's do it. Let's do it. It's unanimous. We're all on the Saints. So now you know what happens with the way the season's gone. What happens here is Mahomes leads a drive at the end and throws a touchdown pass, and they win by 6. And Huss is on here tomorrow just being like,
Hey, but guess what? Kenneth Walker still didn't score.
good point.
Great point. Great point.
We got him there.
All right, so Kelsey touchdown, Rashid Shaheed over 46.5, and the Saints plus 5.5 will be our lock shot partner parlay for Monday Night Football. Rod Z says, guys, Kelsey first TD as well, first TD score. Now, yeah, that's let's see, what would that be? Plus 550 if you like Kelsey be the first TD score. Plus 550 over there. The top 5 touchdown scores in this game tonight, they were all on the wheel. That gave us Foster Moreau. Alvin Kamara minus 120, Kelsey plus 120, Kareem Hunt plus 138, Xavier Worthy plus 150, and Olave at plus 188.
All right. I just built my Patty's parlay. We don't have a price on it, but I teased some numbers here, and we're gonna get it. We're gonna get, I think, a solid number. Didn't talk about him, but I think Justin Watson. We talked about where some of these additional receptions are going to go. I think he has an opportunity to potentially play a big role. Over 23.5 reception yards. One thing the Saints defense has struggled in is the outside. No Rashid Rice. So I think maybe he could pick up there. So I'm going to go actually, instead of his reception yards, I'm going to go with 2 receptions, tease it down to 2 receptions.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Kamara, tease his number down to 25 reception yards, and then the over 3.5 field goals. I'm thinking we're going to be around 350, 375, somewhere in that ballpark if my numbers in my model show that I'm right here.
In my model. Fun show today, boys. Fun show today. Jake, anything else to add?
Yeah, it's Zulu said Jake was also on some of the comeback players last week. Cashed some nice props. Josh Jacobs scored for first time this season.
That's right.
Garrett Wilson had a big game. I don't know. Whatever it is, these social media guys, the minute they start getting criticism, they have a big game.
I know.
Keep your eye on it. Keep your eye on whoever the hatred is on this week. Let's jump on him next week.
I'm going to be I'm all over Debo this week. That's it. Enough.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, Debo's
Ayuk, that was another one. Ayuk had a huge game.
That's right. He did. Huh.
Maybe some Dalton Kincaid hate this week, fellas.
There you go.
Nice.
Lots of hate to go around.
One quick thing though before we go. Big Maple, we all rode with you, and I'm not blaming this on you. We were absolutely robbed in the UFC. Jose Aldo completely should have won that fight. It went to decision, and somehow he ends up losing this. So, Big Mape, I have not lost faith. We were robbed. Justice for Jose. We got screwed. I will be riding because of that. I don't care. Blindly tailing whatever you put out for the fight night this week because we are owed one from the gambler. The gambler must give us some
Gambler strikes again. Yeah.
Gambler giveth, gambler taketh. He tooketh this week with a loss like that. Absolutely disgusting that we did not win that bet.
I love it. That's your Monday on the Lock Shop. Big shout out to Pat and Jake for sliding in. Haas, of course, dodging us because he's nervous about the Chiefs, and he was embarrassed that Walker cost us our house callers parlay from the weekend. Haas will be back tomorrow. Boys, we'll catch up later in the week.
Sounds good. See you, fellas.